Well, you guys are probably wondering why this truck is out of the garage and all back together. And let me show you just what I did. That is a 12 valve. I took the 12 valve that was for the first gen and I put it in this truck, and here's one clue to why I did that. Right there. So this truck, my 01, came with rails originally when I bought it. So I had the box off, as you guys seen, and I had that bracket off. These ones are the bolts were just spinning, but I took the bolts off the box and I had the box off, and of course the motor was apart, and now it's a 12 valve. The 24 valve is in the garage. Don't worry, it is still getting P-pumped. It'll get P-pumped out of the truck. It'll be easier anyway. And the real reason why this is with a 12 valve and why it's back together is because about late Wednesday or early Thursday morning of last week, I found out, and me and my fiance were buying a camper in Indiana, which is a little bit of a drive from Wisconsin. And this camper was, as you've seen, a fifth wheel. And I had no way to get this camper if I didn't have this truck, which I just bought the hitch for it last week too, on Thursday. But I needed this truck with the rails. You're probably wondering, first off, why didn't I just put rails in the 06 and drive that, considering it's already running and driving? A couple of reasons. Probably the major one being the major one being the steering is kind of goofy in there. It needs all new steering and ball joints. And second, this truck doesn't have rails yet, at least, and I didn't want to or have the time to buy the right brackets. Those ones I maybe could have made work, but I wanted to do it the right way and not just drill a bunch of holes in the frame that weren't necessary. So that's another major reason. Otherwise, that truck would have been definitely a better option than what I did to this one. Like I said, this is a motor out of my first gen. It's a VE pump 12 valve, clearly. It took a bunch of parts from the 24 valve, second gen 12 valve P-pump, and this first gen motor to make this work, such as this intake horn off a second gen 12 valve, motor mounts off a second gen 12 valve, turbo off the 24 valve is on here, which I didn't necessarily need to do that, but you would need the elbow piece. I don't really know its official name for the exhaust to bolt up to that. And then as far as gauges go and whatnot, here's what I did. I needed pretty much just the speedometer, and my voltage gauge worked. Nothing else worked, which would be the temp and the oil pressure. And then my fuel gauge still doesn't work because I haven't fixed it, just threw the box back on. What I did was I ran a mechanical gauge, and it's right there. That's as far as I could get it with not wire, but hose or whatever it had with it. So that is run right over here. Now it's really messy because I wanted to keep the 12 valve or the 24 valve harness not messed with whatsoever, so I could just plug the 24 valve back in. So that's why it's really messy and ugly looking. I used the first gen alternator with the early style regulator, external voltage regulator, wired it up, worked perfect, charged at 14, a little over 14 the entire way. I just took the fuel lines and ran them to the factory lift pump on the 12 valve. I just bolted the power steering vacuum pump right in place. That was the same, so that was easy. Couldn't run a fan shroud because the fan is offset compared to the 24 valve fan. Like I said, second gen motor mounts for 12 valve. 24 valve ones were different. And I took the clutch off 24 valve, put it in here. And I think that was about it. So it runs absolutely awesome. Like I said, I took it to Indiana. Me and my fiance did yesterday. It was roughly about 20 hours altogether. We were probably driving for 18 of that. Quite a bit. This motor definitely gets way better fuel mileage than a P pump or the VP did. I averaged probably 21 or so on the way down, and then pulling the camper, which is roughly 10,000 pounds, I averaged 13 or 14 miles a gallon on the way back. So really impressed with those numbers. The VE pumps always do really well on fuel. Honestly, it's about the same power wise as a 24 valve, so no difference there. Plenty of power to pull a camper. Get this hose out of here. Now for the linkage, it was completely different. What I did was, this is actually the factory 24 valve throttle cable and bracket. I bolted on 2 spots where the old bracket, throttle cable bracket, was for 12 valve. Unbolted that. I kind of found 2 holes that lined up, or actually one that lined up. I drilled the other one and then elongated them slightly. And then took the original arm off the 12 valve, or the VE pump. And this one clipped on here nice and tight, threw the spring on, and it works absolutely perfect. It's better than, tighter and better than the 12 valve was originally. So that's pretty much what it took to shove this 12 valve in here. It was about 1,000 miles I put on it there and back, and ran like a dream, not a single issue, so really happy about that. So that's kind of why I did it, pretty much just to get that camper. Although I think this will be staying in here for probably, I don't know, at least until the 24 valve is P-pumped and ready to drop back in, so that way I'm not without a truck to move the camper. So that's pretty much a story on that. And I suppose I'll show you a quick little clip of the camper. There it is. So maybe I'll show you guys that later, but not in this video. So that's pretty much what it took to get a 12 valve in here. It took time-wise probably about 10 to 12 hours to do it, which really wasn't that bad considering the front end was all apart to begin with. So I just put the computer right here, ran the wires over top. So you could do this a little bit better if you actually took the time to get adapters for your sensors, and then you could just use the factory gauges. But I didn't want to take the time to find the right sensors and whatnot, and adapters and all that. So that's why I did it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll have more videos on the P-pump, on the motor, which will now be probably on a stand, and we can finish that up. So stay tuned for that, and I'll show you a camper in another video, and hoping to do a lot of camping this summer. So hopefully I wasn't rambling too much. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, if you're actually thinking about doing this and keeping it in there, I could probably give you some pointers on what to do differently. Super easy swap. But thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.